Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Turiya, the fourth state of consciousness, transcending ordinary experience. So, I saw this was posted about a week ago. I wanted to react to it, but it hasn't been a month yet. Finally, it's been a month. Now I'm interested in to see what he says what Turiya is. Don't know how else to say that, but anyways, let's go and get started.
States of consciousness. Let's see. There's cosmic consciousness, Krishna consciousness, environmental consciousness due to concerns about global warming, and if you happen to be on a diet, you might be weight conscious or calorie conscious. You get the point. Before we begin, we have to be absolutely clear about what the word consciousness means in the teachings of Advaita Vedanta. Like most words, the meaning of consciousness depends on its context. For example, if you suffered a stroke and were taken to a hospital, a doctor might describe your state of consciousness as being lucid or confused, stuporous, or even comatose, depending on your condition. These words actually describe how you respond to external stimuli, like verbal instructions or being touched. These medical terms don't really describe your inner state of consciousness. After all, no doctor can truly know what you yourself feel or experience while you're lying there in the emergency room. Suppose the stroke temporarily robbed you of your ability to talk or move, but you remain completely alert and fully aware of everything happening around you.
Yeah. Again, people who have nightmares, lucid dreams, I believe it is, where they're literally awake in their bed. I think they're awake in their bed, unable to move. And I don't remember, some of them even have it to where they're hallucinating. I think it's called a lucid dream. Yeah, lucid dream, where they're awake but they're dreaming at the same time, where they're seeing things in their room. It's and they're paralyzed because whenever you go to sleep, your body kind of sends out a type of, I think, a hormone that prevents your bodies from reacting. So like in your mind you're like running, but you know in your mind you're running, but you know it prevents your body from actually running too, because otherwise you'll be running in your bed. So your brain sends out this little hormone to prevent your body from reacting to what your brain is trying to do, so that you don't accidentally roll off the bed or kick. I know that to be 100% true, because I remember sometimes when I'm thinking about kicking, all of a sudden my leg would kick. I'm like, I didn't mean to do that, but it just happens. So, lucid dreams.
If you couldn't respond to the doctor's questions or even open your eyes, the doctor might say that you're unconscious. You're in a state of coma. If you heard the doctor say that while you were lying there, fully alert, you'd be quite surprised. Suppose the doctor orders an electroencephalogram, an EEG test, to measure the electrical activity of your brain. By reading the charts, the doctor could correctly assess your condition and realize his mistake. But even then, the EEG test would not tell the doctor anything whatsoever about your inner subjective experience. Your consciousness is a private reality. It can't be known by anyone other than you. So then, what exactly is that consciousness, your consciousness? Well, consider what's happening right now in the waking state as you watch this image of me on a screen and you hear the sound of my voice. The images and sounds are captured by your eyes and ears. Then, specialized nerves convey all that information to your brain. Your brain is an unimaginably intricate network of 100 billion neurons, each of which send thousands of electrochemical signals to other neurons. As a result of this fantastically complex process, images of me and sounds of my voice arise in your mind. And as they arise in your mind, you become conscious or aware of them. You are aware of the contents of your mind. In addition to these images and sounds, various kinds of thoughts and emotions also arise in your mind, and you become aware of them as well. So we can say that consciousness is your capacity to be aware of all the perceptions, thoughts, and emotions that arise in your mind. That's a helpful definition. The meaning of the word awareness is the same. Okay, now imagine that a futuristic robot is sitting next to you while you're watching this video. Would that robot have the same experience as you? Its cameras and microphones could certainly capture all these images and sounds, just like your eyes and ears do.
Okay, real quick before he answers, a couple of things here. I will say yes to that, but that's based on a very evolved robot, because I personally believe that our bodies are, in some sense, how to say, robots too, but flesh. Whereas robots as we know it is metal. So kind of like how our DNA has instructional code. It tells what the body's to do, and then you have little cells that produces and whatnot. I guess the best way to translate that is you have nanomachine for robots to equate how our DNA structures our arm and all that. You have nanomachines that are specialized that says, hey, this nanomachine builds the finger, this other nanomachine builds the hand, this nanomachine builds the arm, is that the bicep? I don't know. I'm not a muscle person. But anyways, builds the whole arm, the body, and the head and everything. And then our thoughts, everything in the mind is all based on experience that we've had, that we've handled, that we experienced in real life, that we've learned from observation or by doing. Same thing with an AR robot. When it's able to learn, it can do the exact same thing as we can. So, can a robot experience things the same way we can? I'd say yes. Just in case he says no, I will still say yes. I'll wait for a very good argument to say no.
The robot would convert those images and sounds into numerical values and store all that data in memory chips inside its computer brain. Then the robot would process that data according to its programming. Yet the robot would not be conscious or aware of what's happening inside its computer brain. It wouldn't actually experience this video like you do. After all, it's just a machine. And like any machine, it can function perfectly well without consciousness.
Perhaps, yeah, but nonetheless, it can, not all life experience things the same. I don't know if animals think about their thoughts. So are they not alive or are they not conscious? I'd say that they are. Different level of consciousness, perhaps. And same thing can go for the robot. Robot and animals probably can be more alike at the moment because it's all instinctual, not necessarily so much on thinking. Memory and instincts are what animals, I think, know for sure. Because obviously if they see something threatening, they run away. That's instinctual and memory. and what they've been taught too from their parents, obviously. So memory and instincts to run away. Robots are kind of like that. Once a robot becomes very smart, we're able to learn. What then?
You, on the other hand, are a sentient, conscious being who is fully aware of everything that happens in your mind. Without consciousness, you would not exist. So far, we've been discussing the experience of the waking state. To understand the dream and deep sleep states, we can use a powerful metaphor often used in the teachings of Advaita Vedanta. According to this metaphor, your consciousness is like a lamp that illumines or reveals mental objects in the so-called room of your mind. The light of awareness shines within you, revealing all your thoughts, your emotions, and everything you perceive with your 5 senses: sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Where does that light of awareness come from? What is its source? Well, you are a sentient conscious being, so the source can only be you. Because of that light of consciousness, you become aware of all the activities of your mind. And you're aware of your mind's activities not only right now when you're awake, but also at night when you're dreaming. The very same light of consciousness makes you aware of your dreams. The main difference between the waking and dream states is that when you're awake, everything you see, hear, taste, smell, or touch comes from your 5 senses. Whereas in your dreams, everything you perceive comes from your memories and your power of imagination. But what happens at night during deep, dreamless sleep?
Real quick, power of imagination. I wonder if that's like a mistake. Like, only reason why all of a sudden I just thought of that. It's like the monsters that we think of. Like we all of a sudden think of something big and scary, but we've never seen anything like that yet. Somehow our memory creates that. So is that like a byproduct or a mistake? Because it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would we think of stuff that we've never seen before? Or why would we describe things? I don't want to say it's a mistake per se, but I mean, is it a mistake? But it's still a good thing, you know. I'm not saying it's like bad. It's like, oh, we have a great imagination and can think of things differently, but is it a mistake though? Like, it's not supposed to happen, but yet it does, and something that we have, and now we call it imagination.
What are you conscious of then? Nothing. Nothing at all. You're conscious of the complete absence of any thoughts, emotions, or perceptions in your mind. During deep sleep, the light of consciousness continues to shine brightly. You remain fully aware, but there's nothing to be aware of, nothing to be illumined by the light of consciousness. Like a lamp shining brightly in a completely empty room with black walls, a black ceiling, and a black floor. That you remain fully conscious in deep sleep might seem counterintuitive at first, but imagine standing inside a perfectly dark room with your eyes wide open.
Or he can actually say now is there's rooms out there that they're called sensory deprivation rooms, where I think you lay in like body temperature water, so it matches your body temperature perfectly, so you can't really sense it's not colder, it's not hotter than you. It's literally the same temperature as you, and it's noise dampened all around, so there's no echoes or anything. There's no noise, no what do you call white noise, like background noise, like, you know, AC running or the wind blowing or anything like that. It's just dead silence, and it's pitch black. So you're deprived of your sight, you're deprived of your sound, you're deprived of your feeling. What is deprived of your smell, but not your taste, but there's nothing to taste there. So you're deprived of your senses. You can now say that, and I do want to experience that. I'm curious. Oh, and I think the water's like salty, so you're perfectly floating. It's dense enough for you to float in it.
You can see, but there's nothing to be seen. You don't temporarily become blind in a dark room, and in the same way, you don't temporarily become unconscious in deep sleep. The light of consciousness doesn't blink on and off like a light bulb. As a sentient being, you are the source of that light, and it's absurd to suggest that you cease to exist in deep sleep. So, these are the first 3 states of consciousness: the waking state, Jagrat Avastha, the dream state, Swapna Avastha, and dreamless sleep, Sushupti Avastha. These states alternate every day and night. During the waking and dream states, you're aware of the activities of your mind, and in deep sleep, you're aware of the absence of any mental activity. To be aware of these 3 changing states is like going to a movie theater showing a double feature, 2 films in one show, as was done long ago. The films are projected on a screen, and that screen represents your mind. Just like you watch everything projected on the movie screen, similarly, you're aware of all the thoughts, emotions, and perceptions that arise on the so-called screen of your mind. Suppose the first film is a highly emotional drama about a person just like you. That film represents your experience of the waking state. Suppose the second film is a science fiction fantasy taking place on a distant planet. That film represents your experience of the dream state. Then, after the second film concludes, there's a break until the next show begins. During the break, the theater screen remains dark, and you see nothing at all. Sitting in a dark theater, staring at a dark screen, represents your experience of deep sleep. This movie theater metaphor is a favorite of mine. It seems to nicely explain all 3 states of consciousness. But what about Turiya, the 4th state of consciousness? That's what we'll discuss next. The movie theater metaphor we just saw can also explain Turiya, the 4th state of consciousness. Look at this. In this metaphor, the screen represents your mind, and the person watching the screen represents your consciousness. Like the movie screen alternately shows the first film, second film, and darkness, in the same way, your mind alternates between the states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. Note that it's the very same person who watches the first film, the second film, and the dark screen. Likewise, it's the very same consciousness, your consciousness, that reveals the contents of your mind in the states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. So, really speaking, it's your mind that undergoes these 3 states, not consciousness. To describe waking, dream, and sleep as 3 states of consciousness is somewhat misleading. It's more accurate to call them 3 states of mind. Usually, they're referred to as 3 states of experience. In Sanskrit, they're called avastha traya, which simply means 3 states. Okay, but what about the so-called 4th state of consciousness, Turiya? Before we proceed, please note that the word Turiya simply means fourth, not fourth state of consciousness. The best way to begin this inquiry is with the famous Mandukya Upanishad, the scripture in which the word Turiya is found for the very first time. This Upanishad records the profound insights and discoveries of an ancient rishi who said that Turiya is consciousness itself, the unchanging consciousness that illumines or reveals the three changing states of experience that alternate in your mind. According to the rishi, Turiya is not a particular state of consciousness, nor is it an extraordinary spiritual experience. Turiya is pure consciousness, consciousness that's unborn, uncreated, limitless, vast, and utterly unaffected by worldly suffering, as we'll see shortly. So, according to the rishi, Turiya is not a fourth state in addition to the other three, but rather it's the one unchanging consciousness that's invariably present in all three states. You might find this description surprising. Many people believe that Turiya is a state of superconsciousness, a higher or elevated state in which you can enjoy experiences that transcend the material world. Others think that it's a state of omniscience, a state in which you know everything, or a state in which you can know and experience God. All that sounds really wonderful, but none of it was ever taught by the ancient rishis. They discovered that Turiya is not a transient state or a temporary experience, but rather it's the limitless, transcendent, unchanging consciousness that's your true inner nature. First, let's see how the Mandukya Upanishad describes Turiya. And then later, we'll discuss the elevated states of consciousness. The Mandukya Upanishad declares, Ayam Atma, this self, the conscious being, your true inner nature, is Chatushpat. It has 4 quarters, 4 parts, or 4 states. The waking state is defined here as Bahishprajna, the state in which your consciousness is extrovert, turned outwards towards the world. Then the dream state is defined as Antahprajna, the state in which your consciousness is introvert, withdrawn from worldly experiences. Then the state of deep sleep is defined as Prajnana Ghana, literally thick or dense consciousness, a state of darkness, like the darkness of the movie screen. After describing these 3 states, the Upanishad then reveals the nature of Turiya in an amazing passage. It says, Nanta prajnam. Turiya is not like the introvert consciousness of the dream state. Nabahish prajnam. Nor is it like the extrovert consciousness of the waking state. No bhayata prajnam, nor is it an intermediate state in between the waking and dream states. Na prajnana ghanam. Turiya is not like the dark, dense consciousness of deep sleep. Na prajnam, nor is it mere consciousness. Na prajnam, nor is it unconsciousness, the absence of consciousness. All these expressions negate different kinds of conditioned consciousness, consciousness that's associated with the conditions of your mind, conditions like waking, dream, and deep sleep. Properly understood, Turiya is pure, unconditioned consciousness, utterly independent of your mind and completely unaffected by its activities. Unconditioned consciousness is often explained in Advaita Vedanta by comparing it to a clear crystal. When I hold this crystal here, it looks orange. It seems to be affected by the orangeness of my robes. But in fact, it's really not affected at all. It remains unconditioned. That is, it remains perfectly clear, completely unaffected by the color of this cloth. Cloth of different colors can make this crystal look orange, green, or blue. In the same way, different conditions of your mind can make your consciousness seem like it's awake, dreaming, or immersed in deep sleep. But just like this crystal remains perfectly clear in spite of its appearance, in the same way, the unconditioned consciousness, known as Turiya, is not affected in any way by the states of your mind. Next, the Upanishad says that Turiya, unconditioned consciousness, is adrishtam, unseen, imperceptible, avyavaharyam, detached, not involved in worldly activities, agrahyam, ungraspable, impossible to objectify with your mind or senses, alakshanam, indefinable, achintyam, inconceivable, and avyapadeshyam, indescribable. Turiya is not an object that can be observed or defined. Instead, Turiya is the awareful subject, consciousness, your essential nature. Earlier, we saw that medical terminology can't truly describe your inner subjective experience. Here, we see that even the words of the great rishis can't truly describe Turiya, unconditioned consciousness. But if Turiya is imperceptible, ungraspable, and inconceivable, then how can it possibly be experienced? The next part of this passage shows how. Turiya is ekatma pratyaya saram. It's the one true self, eka atma, the unconditioned consciousness that's invariably present in every experience. Turiya is the consciousness present in your experience right now, this very moment. It's not a temporary state or a special experience. Turiya is your true inner self, the so-called inner divinity.
So the only reason why we're aware of it is because we are aware of awareness. We are aware that we are aware. So like we are aware of the waking state, we are aware of the dream state. And even though we're unaware of the deep sleep, we are aware of the deep sleep because clearly there's a time between your dream and waking state that there's a blankness that we are unaware of but aware of. So to be aware of this Turiya is merely because we are aware of the three different states. And what we are aware of the three different states is that we are aware of the three different states, and that is Turiya. Did I get that right?
Turiya remains fundamentally unchanged by the conditions and activities of your mind. Just like a person watching a movie in a theater remains fundamentally unchanged by the triumphs and tragedies that take place on the screen. In this way, Turiya is transcendent. It's beyond all worldly experience. To explain this, the passage concludes by saying that Turiya is prapancha upashamam, unworldly, untainted by worldly suffering. Shantam, silent, still, unchanging. Shivam, pure, holy, divine. And Advaitam, non-dual, beyond the divisions and complexities of worldly existence. For all these reasons, Turiya certainly deserves to be called the divinity that dwells within you as your true nature.
I will say the deep sleep is the hardest to describe because we are clearly unaware of it. Because, well, there's nothing to be aware of. We are aware of our dreams. Sometimes we don't always remember all of our dreams. We are aware of hopefully we are aware of the waking world. It'd be weird not to be. But yeah, the deep sleep, how do you say that you're aware of it? The only thing that you're aware of your deep sleep is the fact that there's a blankness there. And we are aware of the blankness, but unaware of it while in the blankness. That's why I said unaware, but aware of it. But I guess we are technically aware of the blankness. I don't know, hard to put that in words, but yeah, we're unaware of the blankness because we're aware there was nothing there. But that only comes after the fact, though, not during the fact.
So, according to the Mandukya Upanishad, Turiya is unconditioned consciousness. Just like this crystal doesn't really change color, in the same way, unconditioned consciousness doesn't really change from one state to another. It's your mind that has states, not consciousness. In fact, your mind has many states, and those states can be described in various ways. For example, in the well-known scripture, Yoga Vasishta, its author, the Rishi Valmiki, identifies 7 stages or levels of spiritual wisdom. The first stage on the path to enlightenment is Shubhecha, a strong desire for enlightenment. The second stage is Vicharana, self-inquiry. The third stage is Tanu Manasa, when your worldly desires weaken.
Would the first one, I was going to say, desire, that's part of the worldly state. That's something that you don't want to have to be enlightened. But then they said the second one, well, it's the weakening of the desires. So does that mean the weakening of the desire for enlightenment? Obviously, you should want to be enlightened. But I don't think desire, in my opinion, is like a very strong emotional word. I desire for something. It's very strong. Like for me, I don't desire to be enlightened. I just want it to come. I just want it to happen. That's all. You know, me doing whatever I'm doing, and then all of a sudden enlightenment happens. I may never even notice it. It just happens, and if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. But I'm just curious. Number 2, does that also mean the weakening of desire for enlightenment, though?
The fourth stage is Sattvapatti, realization of the ultimate truth. The fifth is Asamsakti, detachment. The sixth is Parartha Abhavana, cessation of worldly suffering. The seventh and final stage is Turiyaga, reaching Turiya and abiding in unconditioned consciousness. The point here is that these 7 stages of spiritual wisdom are not states of consciousness. They're states or conditions of your mind. Enlightenment takes place in your mind, At first, your true divine nature remains hidden, unrecognized, because it's covered by the so-called veil of ignorance. That ignorance, of course, resides in your mind, and the process of removing it also takes place in your mind. Now, you might have encountered a teaching that identifies 7 states of consciousness, not 4. Waking consciousness, dream consciousness, deep sleep, transcendental consciousness, cosmic consciousness, God consciousness, and unity consciousness. Notice that Turiya has been renamed here as transcendental consciousness. It was renamed by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the creator of transcendental meditation. Mahesh Yogi was an innovator. He wanted to present the teachings of the ancient sages in a modern scientific way to make them more appealing to Western-educated students. His best-known innovation was to present the traditional meditation technique of mantra japa in a completely new manner. Mahesh Yogi renamed it Transcendental Meditation, and he completely broke with tradition by charging a fee for being initiated with a mantra. Among his many innovations was to invent the 5th, 6th, and 7th states of consciousness: cosmic consciousness, God consciousness, and unity consciousness. Based on the Mandukya Upanishad and other scriptures, it's clear that the ancient rishis never taught this. Mahesh Yogi's innovations are enthusiastically embraced by practitioners of transcendental meditation, but those innovations are also widely criticized by traditional spiritual teachers.
Let me know what you guys think about that one. That sounds very fishy to me, especially after him explaining about there's no other states outside of the 4th. Sounds like he's been infected by the Western bug, but then again, I don't know. Let me know. I don't know if anyone in the Eastern philosophy area talks about this person or his ideas and whether they're good or bad. If you happen to know, let me know. I'm curious.
In Vedantic scriptures, there are a handful of references to a state called Turiya Atita, a state that's beyond Turiya. It's briefly mentioned in the Mandala Brahmana Upanishad, but it's not explained there or in any other scripture. So it's generally considered to be an expression that extols the glories of enlightenment and not a definitive teaching. The celebrated modern sage, Ramana Maharshi, was once asked about the state of Turiya Atita. He answered only by saying that Atma, the self, is sometimes considered to be beyond Turiya. But he also said there are 3 states only: waking, dream, and sleep. Turiya is not a 4th one. It is what underlies these 3, but people do not readily understand it. Therefore, it is said that this is the 4th state. Sri Ramana said it very well. Because Turiya is not properly understood, it's often called the 4th state. But as we've discussed, there really is no 4th state of consciousness, nor is there a 5th, 6th, or 7th, as some people believe.
Well, it's kind of weird then that the fact that Turiya is considered 4th, just the word 4th, not 4th state, but 4th. I guess that makes sense as to why it's confusing, because that literal, I assume that's the literal name of 4th. So it is confusing. Like, oh, 4th. It must be the 4th state. You know, I can't blame them for, making that mistake. But then again, at the same time, I can understand it for sure. I understand it to be the underlying between the three. It is the consciousness it is the thing that observes the three states that you're in: waking, dream, and deep sleep. Even Swami Sarvapriyananda says it's the fourth. Can't remember if it says, if he was talking about it not being literally the fourth state, but I do remember him saying it is just the fourth, but I don't remember if he said whether it is the fourth state or not. I can't remember that.
This kind of misunderstanding can actually lead to a huge problem in spiritual life. Some people are predisposed to seek out the best of everything. They don't want to settle for anything ordinary. So they dine at the best restaurants, they drive the best cars, and they wear the best clothes. This tendency can badly affect one's spiritual practice. For example, if Turiya is good, then Turiya Atita must be better, and Turiya Atita Atita must be better yet.
This is why you don't push, you don't desire things. And this, I guess maybe this is the reason why I said, I just want it to happen kind of deal. Like, forcing yourself to do something, I don't think it's good. Now, some people could probably push themselves into enlightenment, but I don't think that's the norm. I don't think that's the normal case. I think most people, it just kind of happens. I'm assuming here, and let me know if I'm wrong or not, but I think most people it happens naturally. They don't push themselves to do it, but they still do the meditation, like, okay, I'm just going to meditate for the day. It's part of my daily practice, and I continue to just dig a little bit deeper, but not push, not really struggle for it. And eventually it does happen for a lot of people. I think pushing can push some people over into that state, but I think pushing may hold them back more than help them forward.
Some misguided spiritual aspirants are driven to seek higher and higher states of consciousness, states that don't truly exist. Others fall into the trap of seeking better and better experiences in meditation. But those meditative experiences, no matter how amazing, last but a few minutes and then fade away like the morning mist. Fortunately, these mistakes can be avoided with the help of proper guidance. And that guidance can be found in the wisdom of the ancient rishis and the traditional teachings of Advaita Vedanta. Those teachings can lead you to directly realize your true nature as unconditioned consciousness. Consciousness that remains utterly unaffected by the problems of your body, your mind, and the world around you. This discovery can not only free you from personal suffering and enable you to fully enjoy all the blessings of life, but it can also help you become more of a blessing for others.
This dude, I need to watch this, how he creates these videos. Written, produced, and narrated by Swami Tadatmananda. I so want to go visit his place, but it's all the way up in New Jersey. It's very far away, just put it that way. So anyway, a very interesting way to put it. Again, something that I had a grasp in from Swami Sarvapriyananda's explanation. A little bit better understanding, not too much. I don't know if you can understand it any clearer. I don't think there's any other explanation out there that can make me understand it better, because I think it's just overall the awareness that is aware of the three states. That's perhaps like I like to say it. Let me know what you think about that, because that's all Turiya is. It's just the awareness of the three states. The awareness of the three states cannot be a fourth state, although if so far Swami Sarvapriyananda and Swami Tadatmananda has said that Turiya means fourth. But yes, Turiya it's the awareness of the waking state, the dreaming state, and the deep sleep state. I think, is that the best way to put it? Let me know what you think. If you think there's another way to put it, leave it in the comments. I'll read them. I may not be able to hit check or reply to it, but generally speaking, I do read all the emails that come in with your replies, or in your messages for sure too. So anyways, that's my reaction to Turiya, the fourth state of consciousness from Swami Tadatmananda. If you like my content, please go check him out. He does have the Bhagavad Gitas. He has the really long ones, and then he has the excuse me, the reenactment of some, which I do want to watch. I don't know if I'm going to react. I think I'll react to this because the English version is like only about 14 minutes long. I was testing one of them out. I was looking at it, and it looks pretty interesting. So I may react to those. I'm not sure. But he does have the very long versions of the Bhagavad Gita. Anyways, that's my reaction to this video. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.